So, what happened last year in the mortgage markets and finance, and what is predicted to happen next year? Those are things that I get asked every single day. So, let's start with where we ended the year. So, interest rates are lower than they were last year by about 40 basis points to a half. And that's good news for everyone. Um, Appreciation continued in most major markets, not every single one over the United States. Um, Purchase volume was up 19%. Refinance volume was up 88%. Probably as interest rates came down, more people were able to get some relief from previously high interest rate purchase loans. Um, Still seeing mostly activity from people who really need to do something. They're relocating for a job, they're relocating for grandchildren, they're downsizing. Those sorts of things have really driven what's happening in the marketplace. And there is still a lack of inventory in most markets of the country. And, that is going to continue to drive appreciation even with things slowing down. They feel that next year we'll see at least 2.4% appreciation nationwide. And I feel like in some states it will be higher than that, Washington being one of them. Um, Also, too, the Fed, you hear a lot about the Fed, right? And the Fed has done three rate cuts, three this last year. We just had our last one this month with a quarter, an additional quarter. So now the prime interest rate is 6.75, which is tied directly to the Fed's interest rate. That's helpful for people with home equity lines of credit. That's helpful for people buying cars, credit cards, those types of more business loans. And, they have a mandate at the Fed for two things. One is to keep inflation in check and low. They want it at no more than 2%. We have not been able to achieve that. At the end of last year, we ended the year at about 3%, and we still have not achieved the 2%, primarily because of the tariffs going in. That really did, change the dynamic where inflation became more of a fear again. And that fear isn't gone. Hopefully we'll see it stabilize next year and, not continue to be a driver upward. But the Fed will be watching it. There is no clear-cut path there. They've said that. The other component is employment. They want to see modest job growth and our country growing. And we have seen a slowdown in job creation. We actually are going to be getting, some continued numbers here. They've been delayed coming out because of like the shutdown and things like that. But there are really clear signs that we're going to be seeing continued job, slowdown. And if that happens, the Fed will be forced to try to consider things that might further cut the Fed rate, but it might also help mortgage interest rates. So, one of the things that we are hoping for is to see interest rates go. We're ending this year at conventional at about 6.3, and it's pretty stable. In the low sixes is where most conventional is occurring now, with good credit scores and things like that. Government loans are actually in the fives, and a lot of people don't realize that. That would be your FHA and VA loans. And what we're hoping for is to see a continued downward trend. Last year it was higher. We're ending the year here And next year, what we would like to do is to see potentially conventional slip into the fives and governments slip into the low fives, maybe even into the high fours. So that is something that none of us can really predict. It is going to be based on lots of different factors, but that is the hope. And if we do see that, we are going to see a lot of activity. It is really proven that when things get into the middle fives to low fives, activity really picks up. And that could put pressure again on inventory, because we still, no matter what, are going to have a lack of inventory, at least for the next few years. So hopefully that gives you some insight into what is happening. And if you have any questions about a unique situation, more than happy to discuss that or give another update at any time. Take care, have a Merry Christmas, and look forward to 2026.